Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. Just going to be doing a handover video on this Mazda Bongo Aero. So this is going to be a relatively short video, purely just because of the fact that it's, a much smaller vehicle than the majority of the vans I do on the page. But nonetheless, I'll carry on. So as I said, Mazda Bongo. Because this is a camper conversion, you have got two batteries under the bonnet. So we've got the one on the left-hand side here, which is our engine battery. All right, and we know it's the engine battery because you've got this big block of what's called mega fuses under here. But yeah, one on the left is your engine battery. Battery on the right here is your leisure battery. So anything at all that gets powered on the inside of the motorhome side of things, so your lights, your water pump, all that sort of stuff, is all powered from the leisure. And everything else, so engine, starting up, that sort of stuff, is all controlled with this. Now you have got what's called a split charger. So when the engine's running, the engine battery will charge the leisure whilst you're on the go. So when you get to wherever you're going, your leisure battery will be fully charged, vice versa. So, sorry about that. I'll carry on and show you sort of the rest of the van underneath the bonnet. So we've got your brake fluid and servo just here. All right. We've then got your main sort of fuse area under there. Okay. Your air filter sits inside this little box just here. Shouldn't really have to get to that for any reason, but if you were going to do your own service, then it's just inside there. Washer fluid gets topped up through this little reservoir here at the front. Engine coolant gets topped up through here at the back. Make sure that you never open this up when it's hot. And then, to be honest, the majority of the engine is actually underneath the, between the two front seats. The engines on these are really, really clever in the sense that when you want to work on them, it's quite literally a case of popping this center console out, pulling these little bits to the side, and then you've got a huge amount of space in there to work on the engine. So the engine oil filling point is going to be under there. If I just doubly check that under here. It's been a little while since I have worked with a Mazda. Yeah, so the engine oil and dipstick is going to be underneath there. So again, you shouldn't have to get to that. We have had it serviced, so there you go. So not much to show you on the near side front door. You've got your original chassis plate just here, so if you want to have a little look through that, then you can do. Seats are really comfortable and obviously adjustable, so you've got the handle at the front to pull the seats forward and backwards, and then you've got this one here for the backrest. You can fold this little piece down here and have it as a little chair if you want to, but yeah, just a standard Mazda thing. So just put that back. We have fitted for the customer what's called an awning rail, or a channel for an awning to sit into. Now the reason that we put it up here is because when the roof is pulled down, it won't interfere with the rubber seal on the roof. So for obvious reasons, you will have to have the roof up if you want to use the your driveway awning on the side. But to be honest, you would have the roof up anyway in that case. So I thought we'd put it there, most logical place to put it. From the actual Mazda side of things, you have actually got the full electric blinds. So there will be a little switch. Well, the switch is all over the place for them. But basically, you've got these little blinds here, which come all the way down to the bottom, and the same on the side windows there as well. They all work. We have checked those out, so no issues with that. To the back of the van. On the back door itself, we have got not much to show you. You've got a little LPG sticker there on the side of the door. That's really important to keep hold of, as in make sure that you keep it there. You've got an LPG little locker down here. If, for the worst case scenario is you have a crash, the fire brigade need to know that you've got gas or LPG on board. And having a little sticker on the locker here as well shows them exactly where it is. So it's really important to have that on. The gas locker is pretty simple. It's just a case of turning the gas on with the little valve here, which, by the way, Anti-clockwise turns it on, and clockwise turns it off. So you have to go all the way in clockwise. So just keep going until it stops, basically. And that is now completely off. Other way for on. When you want to change this bottle out, undo this strap here and pull the bottle out towards you, and then you literally twist the regulator off the top of the bottle. So it doesn't really get much easier than this. I'll leave that off for now. Just at the back here as well, you'll see you've got a little switch just here with a little red light on it. Now that is your lights on and off, as you can see, and that is one's for the top bed. All right. So you got a bit of storage at the back just here. Okay, the original seatbelt lining is just there as well. So in this locker, we just have a little look down here. A couple of important things. So on the left hand side there, that is your trip switches. So that's all to do with the mains electric. So if you're hooked up on the mains and you can't get anything to work, have a little look in there and just double check that you've got everything switched up. And then next to that is your battery charger. So that's again a mains appliance. So basically, if you've got the hookup cable plugged in, your mains charger will come on and then start charging up the leisure battery. So, all pretty simple stuff in there. Offside rear of the van, we've got your electric hookup point. Okay, so essentially, if you want to use your 3-point mains sockets inside the van and you want your battery charger to be on, then you have to have that hookup cable plugged in. To fill up the fuel tank, you've got a little pulley just here. Once you've pulled on that, it will then have released this little locker. So that's your fuel filler cap. And yeah, that's about it really for the outside. So on the actual driver's side, on the door, we've got your electric windows, and you can turn the windows on and off as well so that you can't use them from the other sides. To the right of the steering wheel, we've got your electric folding mirrors. That's with the ignition on. Your left and right adjusting mirrors there as well. So it's really simple. You've got a fog lamp switch and another switch just here. I'm not sure which one it is that's actually powering the fog lamp at the back. So have a little play with that. So because this is an import, you have got, you'll find that the indicators are on this right hand side. Yeah, so just bear that in mind, that it is sort of back to front. So indicators and lights are on the right, washers and wipers are on the left. So it will take a little bit of getting used to if you've not driven an import before, but it's quite normal. It will beep at you all the time that you've got the key in the ignition without the engine running. So just bear that in mind as well. 140,000 kilometers. So I'm not sure exactly what that can, well, I can work it out. 140 kilometers, about, well, between 80 and 90,000 miles. So nice low mileage on this one. Handbrake obviously here in the middle. Automatic gearbox. So you've got park, reverse, neutral, drive, just like normal. And then you've also got S and L. So basically S and L are if you are going up a really steep hill and you don't want the automatic gearbox to start changing you up the gears too quickly, then you can select S or L, which will hold you in a gear. Okay, so as I say, that's only really if you're going up a really steep hill and it's struggling. Because these are fairly powerful for what they are, you probably won't ever have to use that. But you know, just bear in mind, if it does start to struggle, you can go into S or L to just give it a little bit more chance to hold it in the gear that it's in and get the revs going up a bit higher. In the middle, we have got hazard lights. All of your sort of temperature controls here. I very rarely run through any of this because it's just, you know, so self-explanatory. You don't need me to explain all of that to you. Just the same as any other car. All I would say is that where it says rear here, you've actually got some vents in the back of the van from when this would have originally been like a 7-seater van out of the factory. So you have got a rear button there which should send some cool air out to the back, or hot air, whichever one you're doing, as well. So that's quite nice. You've actually got space here for a double din size head unit. If you wanted to upgrade to a double size one, you have got the space there for that. This little piece here will literally just pull out. So if you wanted to do that, you can do, but for the time being, you've just got the JVC single din head unit. There's nothing wrong with it. It works perfectly well. But if you wanted an upgrade, then that is something that you can do in the future. But yeah, I think that's about it really for the cab. There's not much else that I can show you. The bonnet release handle, by the way, is just next door to the fuel one. So the bonnet is here, fuel is here. Right, so as I said, it's a fairly simple vehicle, so I'm not going to have to run you through loads, but I will run you through what we have got in here. So first thing I will show you, without being blinded, actually I'll leave that on for a second. So down here in this little cupboard, all right, is quite important. So when you lift this little piece of wood out, you'll see that at the bottom there you've got your freshwater tank. So quite literally, take that out, you take the little pump out of it that's in there at the moment and lift the tank out. It's literally as simple as that. That's how you remove the water tank. So if you want to clean the tank out, it is super easy, just because of that really, because you've got the access to it there. But yeah, so that is your freshwater tank, because that's what you would need to fill up in order to get any water coming through the tap. So that's what that little cover there is for. Fits in there really nicely. Towards the back there, we've got a little gas isolator. So your gas isolator is quite literally just for that little single burner there. So if you've got the gas switched on, you can still isolate the single burner hob from there. There's absolutely no point in doing that because you've only got one gas appliance. So if you want to turn the gas off, you just need to turn the gas bottle off from in the locker. All right, but to be honest, they have to do that when they fit any gas appliances, so that is why it's there. So I'll switch this light off for a sec. So the control panel is, well, very straightforward. So we've got auxiliary, which may well be for the fridge. I'm not sure exactly. I didn't do the hab check on this van, but because it's got a 12-volt fridge, I wouldn't be surprised if it is run from the aux button. We've got lights, which will then allow you to use the lights. Sorry for blinding you there. Water pump, which basically just allows the power to go to the pump. It still won't actually do anything until you turn the tap on. Okay, but if you turn that water pump switch off there, you've got no power now to the pump. Okay, so basically what I would recommend is that when you come into the van to use things, just come in here and turn all three of these on, and that should then allow you to have power to everything. It will just turn everything on basically. Okay, the only other thing is that on the left hand side here, you've got a gauge in the middle, which as you can see is right up there in the green at the moment. I've got nothing charging the leisure battery up, but it's showing us that the leisure battery is in a really, really good state. So up there in the green means that your leisure battery is absolutely fine. On the left hand side, you've got car or van. So basically this is the battery selector for powering the back end of the van. So if you want the power on the back here for the lights or the water pump or the fridge, you have to select van. Okay, if you select car, basically everything that's in the back end of the van will be just using the engine battery to be powered. For obvious reasons, you don't want to do that. You don't want to get stuck in a field somewhere with a flat engine battery because you've been using the wrong battery. So long story short, make sure that you have it down on van if you are going to use the power in the back of the van. Back to the middle, switches everything off. As you can see, the little gauge now has gone right the way down because it's in the middle, not selecting a battery at all. Back down to van, turns on our power from the leisure battery. So as I said, we've got your little sink just here. The water will quite literally just drain out from underneath. There's a little pipe in the rear wheel arch, so if you want to put a rollaway tank underneath that, then you can. behind us, not behind us, in front of us, you've got your single burner hob at the top just there, which has got a piezo igniter. So piezo ignition means that you have to actually physically create the spark yourself by pressing this little button down. Okay, so gas valve at the back, piezo ignition at the front, both at the same time, and then it will light up the hob. Got a bit of storage down here, and what is that at the back? That is the, well, when it was actually a 7-seater still, that's more of the controls for the back end. Don't worry about any of that. And then we've got the fridge. So these Vitrifrigo fridges, a lot like, you know, most 12-volt fridges, to be honest, are really, really good. So you've got a little switch down here at the bottom. When you turn this little switch, whichever way it goes, the fridge will spring to life. So it's really as easy as that. As soon as you twist the button there, it will spring to life. And after about, well, I'd say these ones are really good. So after about 15 or 20 minutes, you're going to have a cold fridge. It will still take probably about an hour to get completely cold. But, you know, with like a lot of the three-way fridges, like the bigger ones in the other in the sort of big motorhomes, it can take 3 or 4 hours to even start getting cold. Whereas these ones are unbelievably fast. So, yeah. All I would say, only thing I would say about these is that they do use quite a lot of power. So, and that's not a problem. It's, you know, they're made to use a lot of power. They use a lot of power when they're initially cooling down. So for the, you know, for that first sort of 15 minutes to half an hour, they will use a lot of power. All it means is that you have to keep your eye every now and again, just have a little look up at your gauge up there and just make sure that your battery's not all the way down in the red. Yeah, so just make sure that it stays up. It doesn't have to be necessarily all the way up in the green all the time, but just make sure it doesn't, you know, fall its way down to the red. If it does, then all it means is that you have to start the engine up for a little while and get that split charger working to get the leisure battery charging. Or if you've got access to a hookup cable for the battery charger to be on, that is ideal. All right. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. As I say, they are made to be able to use these 12-volt fridges without anything else on, but you do just have to keep your eye on that battery voltage after a little while. I'm going to turn the fridge off all the way back to the top. You'll know it's off because you hear a little click like that, and it's facing directly up. And that's it. So you've got your overcab bed up here. So it's, you know, don't need to explain that. Just quite literally a bed with sort of slats that run on these little runners. That's about it, to be honest. It's there's not really much else I can explain, I don't think. So if there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you want going over again, just give us a shout. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.